That's what it suggests. That it suggests that living things formed spontaneously from stone and earth, and those life forms supposedly descended from one another. Evolution is a pagan belief that dates back thousands of years. The Sumerians and the ancient Egyptians were both societies that believed in and espoused evolution. Yani they agreed with the idea of evolution as it stands today. For example, the Egyptians thought that living things emerged spontaneously from the muddy waters of the Nile. Mafi creator, there is no one that fashioned creation. Things spontaneously, or living forms spontaneously forms, and they formed from the muddy water of the Nile River. People of reason and good conscience of today must clearly see that evolution was an error, and that some people espouse that error because of their materialist and atheist mindset, not because of their scientific mindset. Second, the idea that life forms came into being by descending gradually from one thing to another is not supported by any scientific finding. If life forms were descended from one another, as Darwin or evolutionists who lived in the past claim, then this should be clearly visible in the fossil record. انتوا بدكم تحكوا science؟ خلينا نحكي science اليوم. Right? And you always evolutionists, when we talk about God, the first card they put up is what? Fossils. We have fossils evidence. We have this. We have a large skull of an ape that looks like exactly the head of a human being. طيب. What's the similarities? There are similarities. طيب. We'll see the similarities between this big head of an ape and a human being. The excavation, record this, brothers and sisters, the excavation carried out to date have unearthed more than 100 million fossils, but there is not a single fossil among them that shows that one life form turned into another, or that they share a supposed common ancestor. That's science. Sheikh Jehad Ismail. Okay? I'm not getting information from my jubba closet. Alright? Or from jubba closet, the closet is the inside, the pockets. I'm not passing information to you from inside my pockets. These are scientific records that says the unearthing of more than 100 million fossils. There is not a single fossil among them that shows that one life form turned into another, or that they share a supposed common ancestor. Everyone, without exception, of these 100 million fossils shows that living things appeared suddenly with all the characteristics they possess, and that they remained unchanged for 100 million years. In other words, that evolution never happened. You know what they're saying here? They're saying that each and every fossil showed that it belonged to a creature that came into existence in the way it appeared without any change whatsoever. For hundreds of millions of years, it did not change. Yani if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a fish in that shape, it did not descend from another type of fish and assumed a completely different shape. There is nothing to suggest that. But they make you think that there is. And they make you think that this is in fact science. That no, one life developed from another. If not a single transitional form has ever been discovered, despite the earth being dug up all over the world for the last 150 years, and if not one person has responded to the call that we will give $100 trillion to anyone producing an intermediate form fossil. Go and ask scientists, what is an intermediate form fossil? علشان, brothers and sisters, learn these terminologies. So that when a professor stands in a theater at uni and says to you Muslims, you still don't believe in the evolution theory? Say, yes, I don't. Says, something wrong with you? Says, no. Before you say there is something wrong with me, sir, let me ask you this. Can you show me evidence of an intermediate form fasl, please? Show. Tell him. Ask him. If he thinks he's an academic, you should be also an academic. You know why we've lost track and we are confused about our religion? Because we've never read this. We've never given ourselves the opportunity to go and dig up that information. We submitted and we believed because we are honest people, you know? Haram, I have to admit, Muslimin, they are really honest people, honest. قلبهم طيب, كثير قلبهم طيب. بس يشوفوا واحد هيك لابس له طقم، حاطط له جرافة، وحاطط هانكتشيف هون بالجيبة تبعت الطقم، ها؟ وعنده قبل اسمه PRF Professor ولا DR ولا PhD Passed high school with difficulty. Sorry to the PhD holders. PhD, passed high school with difficulty. All of a sudden we collapse. All of a sudden we can't stand on our feet anymore. يا لطيف, هذا كيف بدي جادله? How am I gonna discuss anything with this guy? But he's a machine. He's the bomb, as you call it, man, in this community. How can you argue with someone whose skull is filled with knowledge? Even if you want to penetrate by force another item of knowledge in his skull, you will not be able to. هذا مشحون شحن. بيجي أنا بقول له قال رسول الله. شو بده ينفعني in this discussion? قال رسول الله. ولا بيجي بقول له آية من القرآن. You know why I wouldn't say it? Because I don't actually believe in it. That's the problem. The problem is when we taught the Quran to our children, we did not make them actually believe in its authenticity. We did not make them believe that the Quran is a completely different book that we need to consider, not like your average Harry Potter, will the Lord of the Rings, will the Twilight, part 1 or 2, will the Titanic 3D. هلا كان بكي في 3D, هلا صار في Titanic 3D. And it has better picture effect. طيب, all right. Oh, the list goes on and on and on and on. When we teach the Quran, we need to teach it as a fact that when our students, our children learn about the scientific data of the Quran, they can actually use that data to defend their faith and to demand an alternate viable scientific evidence to corroborate what the other is saying or to refute what the Quran is saying. And I often say, and I repeat this all the time, when you are being challenged, brothers and sisters, and I'll repeat this for the millionth time, I haven't reached the million mark yet, but I will repeat it again and again. Whenever someone comes to challenge you about the existence of God, you set the terms of the debate. Don't allow anyone else to set the terms of the debate. And the first term of the debate that you must set in place when someone comes to argue with you or debate with you is that you must say to the person who does not believe in God, let us discuss the question of God under the following term. We call it a debate about determining the non-existence of God, not the existence of God. You know what I mean? Yani when someone, an atheist, comes and debates you, what he tells you, prove to me that God what? It is, no. Illu lak habibi, don't play with words. I will dictate the terms of the debate. Prove to me that God does not exist. Because you know why? When the first statement is laid ahead of you or in front of you, you are taken back, you are withdrawn. What? I always believe in God. Give it the haki here. You know? No, you take the first strike. And I have no issues believing in God. It's your problem with you, with your head. You have the problem. You don't want to believe in God? Yeah, prove it. Prove to me the non-existence. Don't take me for a ride and tell me, for me to prove to, once you prove to me the non-existence of God, أنا بفرجيك. مش physically يعني, مش بالbiceps, مش بالabs. لا فرجيك intellectually. We want to use our intellectual abs and biceps to prove our points when we are debating an issue. Please, brothers and sisters, whenever you engage in a discussion, leave your physical muscles at home and come with your intellectual muscle, not with your physical muscle, whatever the case may be in regard to that issue. So we said that we have offered more than one challenge for anyone to produce evidence about an intermediate form fossil. And if even Darwin said that his theory would collapse if no transitional fossils were found, in other words, if there exists not a single solitary concrete finding, then it is meaningless to tell fairy tales and invent headlines such as our ancestors were microbes. Who accepts this? I began with a microbe. That these are our, or the forerunner of the bird kingdom has been discovered, a lie. Or our ancestors were, guess, take this, dates. شو هذا الديتس اللي بتفطروا عليه؟ Our ancestors were dates. Like shame on the media that comes and puts headlines to say that our ancestors were microbes. Well, our ancestors were dates. طب ليه ما كانوا apples؟ يعني اشمعنى dates يعني؟ بركي حدا ما بيحب الديتس يعني. اشمعنى يعني dates? Yeah, I'm making fun, you know what? Because evolution is a mockery in my belief system. In my belief system, evolution is a mockery. According to the theory of evolution, every living species has sprung from a predecessor. A previously existing species turned into something else with time, and all species have come into being in this way. According to the theory, this transformation proceeds gradually over millions of years. If this was the case, the numerous intermediary species should have existed and lived within this long transformation period. For instance, some half fish, half reptiles should have lived in the past, which had acquired some reptilian traits in addition to the fish traits they already had. Or there should have existed some reptile birds which acquired some bird traits in addition to the reptilian traits they are believed to have had in the past as transitional forms. But these type of creatures did not exist. يعني حدا شاف fossil for a half fish, half reptile? Where? They can't even produce it. That's what we mean by a transitional intermediary. يعني, for a fish to become a reptile, it has to go through a gradual change. In the intermediate phase, that change should have the two traits, that of a reptile and that of a what? Of a fish. Or that of a bird and that of a reptile. Then after that intermediary fossil or intermediary species form, it changed completely into another creation. Either a fish, it's not going to be a fish because it started from a fish, so it has to become a reptile. There is no fossil evidence to support this. There is no intermediate species to support what I am arguing. If such animals had really existed, there should be millions and even billions of them in number and variety. More importantly, the remains of these strange creatures should be present in fossil records the number of these transitional forms should have been even greater than the present animal species, and their remains should be found all over the world. In